Very often, the one thing that stands in between us and more careful observance of the mitzvahs, the commandments, is just simply memory. Remembering that God is up there and He gave us some rules. There are certain things He wants us to do and certain things that He does not want us to do. Imagine waking in the morning and you know you're supposed to get out of bed and go pray, but you just can't crawl out of bed. You're reaching for the snooze button, and all of a sudden, God Himself, in that voice, whispers in your ear, "Get out of bed now and pray." You're probably going to get out of bed and go pray. Or imagine you're working on something. You know you should be keeping kosher and you're trying hard, but that ham sandwich is staring you in the face and you can't resist and you're about to give in and you reach for it, and all of a sudden God's voice says, "I wouldn't do that, buddy." You probably wouldn't do that. And now we can begin to understand at least one aspect of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, to which we begin an introduction in this week's Parsha. We read about its dimensions and its grandeur, its beauty, its utensils, its tapestries, which were meant to impress upon us, God is here. Now, God does not say, like in Field of Dreams, "If you build it, I will come, I will visit." He says something much stronger. He says, "If you build it, I will dwell there." If we build, back when we did it, the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and then later the temple, He's not going to leave. He's there, always, which leads to a bit of an issue. Because the sages tell us that God says, "I will not stand in the same place as the haughty or the arrogant." Somebody's a big shot, thinks they're in charge. God says, "Okay, big guy, you're in charge. I'm leaving. I'm out of here." But what happens when a haughty, arrogant person shows up in the Mishkan, or in the temple, in the base of Hamikdash, or nowadays in our last remaining vestige, that last remaining outer wall, the Kotel, the western wall? What's going to happen? On the one hand, God has said, "I'm leaving." On the other hand, He has said, "Here, if you build it, I will dwell. I'm not leaving." So something has to give. What gives? We know. Many of us have seen it. Many of us have seen when a big shot shows up at the Kotel, particularly for the first time, and they are leveled. They are crying, often on their knees, trying to stand up. They can't explain it. They often can't speak. They don't know what's going on. What's going on is that there's this showdown, an impasse, and something has to give. And God's not leaving, so they have to give in. Which reminds me of a related story. A few years ago, I was running a trip in Israel for Jewish men, a number of whom were visiting Israel and the Kotel for the first time. And on Shabbos, one of them came over to me, and he said, "All right, I give up. You got to explain it to me. How do they do that?" I said, "How do they do what?" He said, "At the wall, how do they do the buzzing?" I said, "What buzzing?" He said, "Listen, I put my hand on the wall and I feel a buzzing. When I take my hand off, I don't. I put it back on, it's buzzing. I take it off, it's not." He said, "So when we went on Wednesday, I figured, all right, they run some kind of electrical current through the wall. But then I figured they must turn it off for Shabbat. And so now I put my hand on the wall, it's Friday night, it's Shabbat, and it's still buzzing. So I give up. How do they do that?" I said, "You are asking the wrong guy the wrong question." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "First of all, there is no electric current in the Kotel, in the wall. They don't do anything. Second, I'm jealous that you're feeling a current. I don't. And third, what you should be asking, and to whom you should be posing your question, is you should be asking Him how He does it. They're not doing anything. That's God. He's here right now, and He never leaves this spot."